The new One Piece chapter just dropped and oh my gosh did it give me goosebumps. So much has happened in this chapter that I wanted to talk about, but I couldn't fit it into a short. Things like connections to Skypiea and the Sky Islands, returning characters that we haven't seen in a while, awesome fighting sequences, talk about the ancient weapons, a new shadow figure, and probably one of the best endings to a chapter in all of One Piece. It was such a hype chapter and I'm so excited to get into it. First things first, one thing that really got my attention in this chapter is how much they show Skypiea and talk about the ancient weapons. There's one panel in particular that really sparks my theory brain. It's this one right here, where they give an overview of some object in the sky. I'm assuming it's just the Sky Island, but a far shot from it. It very well could be something else like an ancient weapon that's in the sky. But no, I think it's just Upper Yard. I also see parallels to this shot and the weapon that destroyed Luasia. They both look like giant objects in the sky, and I think this parallel is something that shouldn't be overlooked. That object in the sky could easily be a Sky Island. But this is the part that really caught my attention in the first place. And I know this is just a theory, so take what I say with a grain of salt. We see this shot of the God's Palace where we see Conus from Skypiea and some other characters that I really don't know who they are. If they are anybody important, please let me know in the comments because I really do not know who they are. But during this shot, Vegapunk is giving the speech still about how the weapons that are sinking the world are still out there somewhere. But what really catches my attention is where these last words are said. We have to analyze the panels that come before this one to really get an idea of what this message is trying to convey. Because if we look back at the previous panels where Vegapunk is talking about these ancient weapons, we see characters that previously had important parts of the story that involve these weapons. We see Shirahoshi, which is literally one of the ancient weapons, Poseidon. We also see Vivi, in which her kingdom, Alabasta, had the poneglyphs that first told us about one of the ancient weapons, Pluton, which we now know is underneath Wano. And finally, we get this shot of Skypiea and the Upper Yard area. I feel like this isn't a coincidence considering that the final words of Vegapunk about these ancient weapons says the power is out there, while we see Skypiea. My theory is that one of these ancient weapons that we haven't seen yet, Uranus, is in Skypiea, or at least on a Sky Island. I mean, we've already seen this weapon that Imu was using against the Kingdom of Luasia. Many have already theorized that this is Uranus. I think Skypiea might have even more to play in this story. To ride on top of this theory, there is still so much left about the Sky Islands and their people that I would not be surprised if we get another arc in the sky before the story finishes. Considering we haven't seen anything on Arug, the Sky Islander that is part of the worst generation, and that we still don't know what Eneru is up to. I mean, we know that he's coming back in a major part of the story. What if there's another Sky Island arc before we finish One Piece? I just thought of another theory too, and I don't know if other people have talked about this, but what if Laugh-Tale is actually in the sky? And yes, we have seen those pictures where there's blue water around the island, but how do we know that this is just a story that somebody is telling? Maybe back then it wasn't imagined to be in the sky, or maybe the knock-up stream pushed Laugh-Tale in the sky, and that's why nobody has found it since Roger. But I don't know, it makes perfect sense that it would be in the sky. How can there be an island that 4 poneglyphs mark on the map, but nobody has found yet by just sailing? At some point, people would have to find this island. There probably is a reason that nobody has. It makes perfect sense that this island of Laugh-Tale is either in the sky or sunken underwater. That's a theory for another video. But if what we keep seeing, I'm leaning towards the sky being where Laugh-Tale is. I don't know, it's just fun to theorize about One Piece, so again, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. And if there is information that I'm missing that would debunk my theory, I'd like to know. It's always fun to piece together this story and all the mysteries that it holds. Moving on to the next part I wanted to talk about is all the returning characters that we have seen. Throughout the last few chapters, we keep seeing so many characters and places that we have not been shown for a long time. This chapter has a few of those too. We see Longtown again where a bunch of people are reacting to Vegapunk's message. We also see the characters and places that I mentioned earlier like Vivi, Shirahoshi, Conus, and like Skypiea. But there's also people that we haven't seen in a bit. One of whom is Marco the Phoenix. He's back on Sphinx's island listening to the broadcast, but we see a flashback between a convo with him and Whitebeard, and this is where my theory brain came back again. We see Whitebeard telling his crew about a time in the past where a kingdom of gods were from the sky. I feel like he's referring to the Sky Islands and the people who live there. Or he could be talking about the celestial dragons too. I'm not entirely sure. This piece of dialogue is also given to us in a sequence of different races that have been nearly extinct by the world government. We see Kuma as a Buccaneer, King as a Lunarian, and Pudding as a 3-Eye. This makes me think that all these races might have belonged to the ancient kingdom, which honestly also might have existed in the sky. I feel like this chapter has such an emphasis on the Sky Islands, and I don't think that's unintentional. I really want to see where all this information goes in the future, because there's something big about all of these races that we don't know yet. And I have a feeling our answers to these questions are in the sky. This chapter also has some pretty cool fighting scenes too. We cut back to the boat where Saint Saturn is attacking the giants and the crew. In this chapter, Bonnie is back in her Gear 5th form, which I don't know how I feel about. Like, I really liked how the previous chapter, we see her use the form, but get tapped out almost instantly after one punch. I thought it would stay like that until we see her back in this form again in this chapter. I don't think this is the biggest issue in the world, but it's still slightly annoying to see. But regardless, the fight continues with this Elder, and we see some pretty cool moves. Saint Saturn is using his poison spikes on the ship, and it's starting to destroy it until Luffy and Bonnie do a crazy punch on him that not only knocks him off the ship, but also breaks his claws. He is finally separated from the ship, and I think he's falling into the ocean. I don't know if it's confirmed, but do these elders have devil fruit abilities that they lose their powers from seawater? Like, I know they have devil fruits, I think, but I'm not sure if they lose their abilities to swim with them. I mean, they're so different from other devil fruit users that I actually don't know. Maybe we have seen them touch water and I'm just forgetting, but who knows. But the Straw Hats defeat Saturn and head away from the island. We also get the Sunny landing soon, which might land either on the giant ship or right next to it. I'm unsure, to be honest. It's kind of hard to tell. Moving on, this next sequence of events really gave me goosebumps when I was reading and really summed up the end of Egghead. We first see Goldie Roger giving his speech again as we see all of the strongholds for all the major players that are looking for the One Piece. We first get a shot of Hachinosu, this island being Blackbeard's main fortress. Then we see a shot of the Red Force, which is Shanks' ship sailing as he's getting drunk. We also cut to Buggy and the Cross Guild wrapping up to go find the One Piece. Then it shows Marine HQ and people saying that they need to find the One Piece before any pirate does. And then we get this faraway shot of what looks to be Egghead. At first I thought it was Laughtail because of the text that's on the panel, but I think it's Egghead because I see ships around it. But as this panel is showing, Vegapunk is giving a monologue about the fate of the world being decided depending on who finds the One Piece. And we just get this amazing and iconic panel of every major character and faction that is trying to find the One Piece. This shot and monologue is genuinely as iconic as Whitebeard's speech at the end of Marineford and Roger's opening words. We literally get another the One Piece is real moment, and it was genuinely one of the best things that I've read. This panel with the 4 emperors on top, with all of the other big players below, and the text says, "It all depends on who finds the One Piece." It's just beautiful. This brings me to my other point. I think this marks the end of the Egghead Island arc. If this isn't the end of Egghead, then honestly, I don't know what Oda is doing, because this just recapped every major thing that has happened in this arc, as well as set up the end game of One Piece. I don't see why this wouldn't be the end, considering that the Straw Hats are already sailing away now, and Saturn has been defeated. We got that whole cool scene. But if this is the end to Egghead, then this is hands down the best ending to an arc that I have seen. It concludes and yet sets up so much at the same time, and I really cannot wait to see where this story goes from here. We know that the Straw Hats are on their way to Elbaf, but what will go down there? And what about after that? There's still so many questions that we need an answer to. But there is one last thing I haven't talked about, and I know people are going to go crazy about this. Oda yet again gives us another mystery at the end of the chapter. We see a shadow figure with a sword, and nobody knows who this major player is. But the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this was the man marked by flames. I really think it is him. All of these characters serve a huge role to finding the One Piece, and yet who is this person that we see? What other character than the person who has the last road poneglyph? There's also that theory that when we see the man with the eye patch, that it will mark the end of One Piece. What if the man marked by flames is him? Who knows? Someday I do want to dive in that theory rabbit hole that is this character. Maybe that will be a video for another day. I just can't wait to see where this story takes us. This is the end of the chapter, and we do have a break next week, so it will be a while before a new chapter comes out. This one was really fun, and I know will spark a lot more theories. Egghead in general has been a roller coaster of an arc, and I do think this is my favorite arc in all of One Piece so far. Reading Egghead weekly has been one of the best experiences with One Piece, and it continues to be so much fun. Every chapter was just crazy to read week by week. It's even fun to now see all of the chapters that about a year ago where everybody was just going crazy over are now getting animated into even more crazy looking episodes. Like I just watched the one with Shanks and Kid, and oh my gosh, was that good. And on top of that, we're getting the fight on Hachinosu next, so it's just gonna be even more peak after that. I really do hope the next arc that we go to, Elbaf or whatever it is, lives up to the hype that this arc sets up, because it's just awesome. So this is going to be the end of this video. If you enjoyed it and want to support the channel, then leave a like and subscribe. This is my first regular video. I have been doing shorts for a while, but I wanted to try this out, sort of a long form video. It's not really too long, but kind of longer than a short. I had a lot to talk about with this chapter, and I felt like it was too much to fit in a regular short or two. Also, if you do like One Piece foreshadowing moments, I do have a series of those, so make sure to check that out. Anyways, have a good one, y'all, and I'll see you later.